talking about today on this call and understand why they're important to understand yourself as an empath, okay? The first one we're going to talk about is the super, super, super receptive empath. These are, in the school, we call them the emotional intelligence specialists. And they are the most, they're the most strongly empathic of all of the profiles. So if you have this profile, you're going to, and each profile has its own sort of body type and personality, temperament, and karmic history and archetypes and all these kinds of things. But the emotional intelligence specialists, many of you have this one, are very, very super receptive, soft. There's a real innocence, a real sensitivity about them. I think of these ones as the light workers. The light workers and the emotional intelligence specialists just don't have much of a shadow to them. So they're very sweet, they're very loving. On their good days, in their core soul quality, they hold the frequency of love. They genuinely love everybody. They have incredible depth to their feelings, to their emotions. They're very, 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 very emotional. And they hold the energy of love. So, for example, Jesus Christ, he was an emotional intelligence specialist. It's that level of sensitivity, empathy, compassion. On their maybe not so great days, the emotional intelligence specialists we call the poor me, when they're not in their most evolved form, and they feel victimized by things. So they feel victim-y, they feel pushed over, overwhelmed. So the most common thing that you hear them say is they're overwhelmed, they can't manage their life. And sometimes they just collapse in a puddle on the floor. They tend to have, their second chakra is the chakra that's the most dynamic. And that second chakra, and we're going to talk a little bit about the chakras on and off through the class, but that second chakra, which is down low in the navel, literally is like a radar dish for all empaths, but specifically for the emotional intelligence specialist. It's like a big radar dish that scoops in all of this information in a very, very receptive way. And the emotional intelligence specialists will be the ones that their primary experience of empathy is around feeling the feelings of other people's feelings. They absorb and suck up other people's feelings really strong. And they have a harder tendency than the other two that we're going to talk about of knowing who they are, so they tend to really get lost in relationships. They can be very, very codependent, and extremely mergy, with the people that they love in their life. They often long for somebody to take care of them. As empaths, they're particularly crowded places are particularly difficult for them because they get so overwhelmed. They often have fibromyalgia. Environmental sensitivities are really common for these, food allergies, and that's also the creative, charismatic leader also has that one. But there's just this no skin on, raw nerve kind of feeling that they often struggle with, and that extreme feeling of overwhelm. The good news here, and also anxiety, they're the ones that are the most anxious of all of the empaths. So the charismatic leaders are likely to be depressed, where the emotional intelligence specialists are likely to be anxious. So think about whether you're an anxious empath or a depressed empath, and that will give you a sort of a sign of which way you're going with this. The good news for them is that they're, like, in their highest quality, they're incredible counselors, therapists. They really prefer one-on-one settings with people, and almost really never, even in their best hair days, prefer crowds or groups. They just really groove in the one-on-one setting. So if you have this one, probably your life purpose is going to be about healing or working with people on a one-to-one setting. They're very, very, very good at it. And they make excellent therapists, and because they have such deep emotions, they will go with you anywhere you want to go, and with your emotions, they are right there with you. Often they can feel very frustrated or lonely, in fact, because unless they're dealing with another emotional intelligence specialist, or sometimes charismatic leaders can go there with them, they seldom find people who are willing to go to the same or able to go to the same emotional depths that they have. Coming into their power as an empath means working a lot on what we did last class, which is containing the feelings. So last class, we talked about containment. This is for you emotional intelligence specialists need this really bad. And when you learn how to contain your feelings and not flood, because you're going to be the ones that flood, you will step into your power, emotional power, and understand that your sensitivity and your emotionality is actually the deepest power that you have. I think it's a beautiful profile. It's really lovely to have, as a teacher in the school, we have to have them in class. We have to have some of each of the profiles in class, in the group. If we don't have any in the group will never go deep emotionally. They'll stay on the surface. So having the emotional intelligence specialist allows or gives permission for all the other people around them to feel their feelings and to go deep. And they bring incredible unconditional love into the world. That's really their, so if you have that, if you're one of those, and if you're not sure, I'm happy to give you my opinion and you can take the test and find out if that's you. Bringing your love into the world in some way is going to be really important to do. So there are many times that the charismatic leaders get confused and think that they're the emotional intelligence specialist. And you can often tell by body type, because the emotional intelligence specialists tend to be small, slight framed. They have really big eyes and sort of can be very curvaceous in the hip area because they have such an excessive second chakra. And the difference between the charismatic leader and the emotional intelligence specialist not only can be seen in the physical form, but also in the amount of energy or charge that you carry. So if you might be thinking that you are an emotional intelligence specialist and you're really a charismatic leader, we're going to sort that out when we talk about the charismatic leaders.